Hello, America, and welcome to another episode of the Ultra MK podcast, where together we are reversing the narrative. I'm your host, Matt Kennedy, and on today's show, we have a new guest joining with us. He is known as the Deep State Marauder, and now to some as the Secretary of Retribution. He is the Deep State's worst nightmare, and he's coming to you
Ho,
on
ho,
screen.
ho.
Here he is. This is retired Lieutenant Colonel Ivan Raiklin, or better known as the Marauder Claus.
Yes.
How you doing, sir?
The Secretary of Retribution. I'm checking my list.
Oh, there's so many
Let's
naughty
see here.
ones
I
out
checked
there.
it twice. I checked it thrice. And now it's time to slice.
Love it. Love it. There's so many places we can start. I'm sure that list can wrap around the block that you're living on right now. I really, there's so much we want to dig into. Topics today that I really want to kind of highlight is mainly Tina Peters, because she identifies our church as her church, and she's just been a blessing, the Gold Star mom of our country, and everyone's been praying for her. So we're going to dig into that a little bit, but also all of the other work that you've been working on since your time spent in the military. But before that,
And Ivan Raiklin has definitely been on the inside. Served 25 years as both lieutenant colonel and a Green Beret. But the moment the Pentagon started promoting vax mandates and equity training, he retired.
All right, if you were talking to Trump, Ivan, and he listens to you, I know, and so does Capitol Hill. If you had 2 minutes to talk to Trump, what would you say to him?
Ivan Raiklin, yeah. Deep State Marauder. No, he's not retired. He just started that job. Yeah.
Ivan Raiklin. I only love to talk to geniuses. He's mind-boggling in that the information he can contain.
Ivan, if you don't know who he is, you're going to know who he is.
On December 23rd, President Trump retweeted a memo from an individual named Ivan Raiklin entitled Operation Pence Card.
Here's the kind of guy Ivan is. You got all these crazies with the sign. It's a coup. Trump's a fascist. Ivan will get right up in their face, okay?
Hey, Dr. Walensky, Ivan Raiklin, I really look forward to you testifying about your involvement in murdering 38,000 Americans due to the jab.
Hey, Tony, are you sad that you're in the number 3 spot as it applies to murdering people throughout the entire world after Stalin and Hitler? So what do you think about being a defendant in Nuremberg 2.0?
Would you be disappointed if 12 months from now somebody hasn't been hung for treason or executed for treason?
I think the nation will be furious if that does not happen.
Mr. Raskin, do you still want civil war conditions?
Ivan Raiklin.
My good friend from Virginia, Ivan Raiklin.
Ivan Raiklin.
Ivan Raiklin, quite a disruptor, to put it lightly. He's a guy that speaks his mind. He's very open and honest, talking about where's the country at, a Department of Retribution, or what's happening with the Epstein files.
Ivan Raiklin.
Of Ivan Raiklin, such an amazing analyst. He's an intelligence community professional. He's been a lawyer.
Something that Ivan has done called the Deep State Target List.
Ivan Raiklin has the distinction of being investigated by the Biden administration more than President Trump for putting America first and wanting honest transparency in our government.
Ivan Raiklin, topics that he covers are police state investigator or sleuth, and he studies this at a level of detail that very few people do. I like the word marauders. It suggests a certain kind of ferocity.
Our Secretary of Retribution is back.
Hey, Mr. Lowell, how you been?
Joining us now, Ivan Raiklin.
They've investigated me 20 times over, and you know what that does? That means I and my teams investigate those individual agents that are investigating me. And in the process, I red pill them as they listen to me. And then while they're doing that, I'm identifying dirt on them, their family. I know everything about these individuals, and I have dirt on every single one of them. Mr. Miller, can you say it's a strategic blunder also of the COVID-19 jab?
Hey, Nancy, who ran the Fedsurrection parliamentary coup on January 6th? When you and Paul Irving were running that op in order to conduct a coup d'etat on the 2020 election, you and Mike Pence certified an illegal 2020 election. You, Paul Irving, your sergeant at arms, who used to be the sergeant at arms for Paul Ryan, as well as Speaker of the House John Boehner.
I can't say that?
Cannot disrupt.
Okay. So if you don't want to be fucked with, don't fuck with me.
So men that are listening, get the fuck off the couch and start coming after these fucking scum.
Ivan something, right?
Oh yeah, Ivan Raiklin.
Yeah,
the MAGA Marauder. Yeah. But then you meet him, and it's like,
Bang. Shots fired. Pain. is what you desire. If the pen is mightier than the sword, then how do we get here, my God? My God. If history is dead and gone, then how did we get here, my God? My God. So you wanna start a war?
I would like to, if you don't mind, just taking a couple minutes. I'd like to ask you about where you're from, Ivan. Like, what was your view
Yeah.
of the world before you decided to join the U.S. Army?
Okay, so I was born in 76, February 29th. Here, let me take this off because it's going to get pretty warm
It's
real
gonna get
quick.
warm. Yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm from the generation that was born in the 70s and then 80s, grew up during I guess, the Red Scare. But my parents fled the Soviet Union in the 70s, in 74, and I grew up speaking Russian at home. And they fled the Soviet Union because they were being persecuted, similar to how we're seeing all the persecution going on from the communists here domestically of the last 4 years, 4+ years, right? And so before that, was it 1997 when I joined the military in the National Guard? I was going to college. I mean, went to the University of Northern Iowa, studied Russian, Spanish, Russian area studies, some business. And then I decided to enlist. And then right after going to basic and advanced individual training, I went to join the ROTC program at the university. And then became, commissioned. And then 25 years later, basically, I became a lieutenant colonel in the Green Berets, intel officer. And then when I wasn't on active duty, I was picked up a law degree. That would have been in 2004. Became an attorney in 2005. And so we're going on 20 years
Wow. Time
of
flies
that.
when you're having
And
fun,
then,
right?
again, like dual track career, if you will, because, well, that's what you can do when you're in the reserve component or semi quasi active duty. But before I jumped into the whole military, I'm just like a normal guy in the Midwest. My father taught economics at the University of Northern Iowa after getting his PhD, and just a normal Midwestern family, but spoke Russian at home. And so that would have been probably the only difference. But, stepping foot outside of the home, I was just going to high school, wrestled, did some sports, and then joined the military. So nothing too, I would say, out of the ordinary.
Well, let me ask you. I remember, everybody remembers 9/11, because I graduated high school in 2000, just kind of getting my adult like plans set up, and then that happened. Knowing what you know now, back then, did you kind of just believe that it was a terrorist attack and it was Al Qaeda and everything that the news was telling us, or did you feel like something was off-putting about that whole situation and Building 6 and everything?
All right, so here's where it's going to get interesting for the audience, considering what's been discussed over the last week or so. So, oddly enough, I was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, at the Army's Intel School during 9/11, and I was going through the military officer basic course. And when I was there, I would just say that I believe the hype, right? I mean, why wouldn't I? Because most people believe the government until you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the prevailing narrative. But looking back at it, anytime I see a massively coordinated same story across all major channels, it's obviously a coordinated psyop, right? To manipulate, quote unquote, inform and manipulate the psyche of the masses to believe the narrative that's being pushed across all the platforms. Now, who's behind it? I mean, it requires a little digging. And that's kind of where I step in, is that I like to dig into the individuals behind everything. And it's getting easier. And maybe I'm becoming obsolete in the sense that AI and the AI agents are able to help out with that to some degree. But I feel as though the deep state target list that I created was it predated just barely the implementation and introduction of all the AI agents that we're now using in 2025, right? Because I put that out in 2024 before really anybody was using those tools at scale, and their capability wasn't as great. So I had a front row, second row seat to observing that entire deep state target list going back to when the auto pen started to pardon, which was 2014.
Mhm. How long do you think AI and the rise of the AI industrial complex has been around? I mean, obviously the public feels it's only been the last year or two. Do you feel like AI has been something that the military's had, or people have had, but then they roll it out at a certain time to
I
the
mean, it comes
public?
down to where you want to start. I mean, a dishwasher is AI in essence, right?
Mhm.
Your laundromat, washer and dryer are basic AI. So any sort of computing you can argue is basic rudimentary artificial intelligence because they're doing a task that a human it replaces what a human does, and it does it faster and better, right, than any one human can, and more
Right.
efficiently with less
Right.
energy. Well, arguably human energy, right?
Hmm.
I would say so. In 2014, going back to 2014, I remember sitting in the Pentagon. I said, tracking what's going on with technology very closely and AI and Tesla and their capability. I thought to myself that we're going to approach a time, maybe even as early as 10 years from now, meaning it would have been 2024, that in some jurisdictions in America, it will be illegal for a human to drive because AI will provide, absent any hacking and nefarious activity, a safer method of individualized transportation than one driven by an individual human. Now, I was a little bit too aggressive in my stance, but I think we're approaching that time frame where I think in 2026, pretty much AGI is going to start taking over all human activity.
Hmm.
Particularly, as robots are implemented and deployed. You're seeing that with Tesla, and China has, I would say China is in a stronger position, unfortunately, because of their intellectual property theft and lack of privacy laws, big data sets. I
Yeah.
mean, for multiple reasons, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to start to see the rise of the AGI, artificial general intelligence agents,
Is
and
is
we'll
that
see if
considered
humanity survives.
is that considered sixth generation warfare? The next level after fifth generation warfare?
Yeah, because we're going to reach a point where a drone swarm of micro drones you can program and deploy to really wipe out any individual or all of humanity if you want to program it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a military force.
Interesting. I'm going to switch gears for a second. Is it true? I was watching some of your interviews, and have you really been investigated more than 20 times by
I have.
operatives?
You want to go through the list with receipts?
Hey, I got time, baby.
All right, I'm going to have to share a screen then. If we're
Because I
going to go
found
into
it
all the
interesting
details.
when you talked about it, because you said that you've actually used it as a tool to reverse gather intel on these individuals, which makes your job even easier. So that's really fascinating if you want to talk about it.
This will be my first time actually discussing this in depth, in detail.
Well, I'm honored you're doing it here.
All right, so I wasn't remember I was a contractor and a reservist, and so across the DoD I was investigated massively. And then come August of 2021, after attending the Mike Lindell first cyber symposium, we taught on my way back is when I got an email from the TSA or Customs and Border Patrol, DHS, called the Trusted Traveler Program, because up until that point in time, I had been a trusted traveler in the sense of having global entry, TSA pre-check, clear. So I was the most safe traveler category in the system because of those different caveats. And I had a top secret clearance at the time, right? And so I was traveling and would present my military reservist ID card, etc. And next thing I know, they put me on what's known as the Quiet Skies program, which would mean that the DHS is now investigating me. And I have other evidence to show that they were investigating me. Later on, years later, I find out that it's the DOD, DOJ, DHS. They're all investigating me, looking for a crime. And what is that crime? Is that I'm traveling the country and online advocating for the decertification of the fraudulently transmitted electors by at a minimum, the 6 contested states: Georgia, Wisconsin, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, as well as New Hampshire, Nebraska, and even beyond that, the 39 states ran their elections according to COVID rules, which violated the law. Okay? So the machine was getting scared. Reuters is a big organization. Keep in mind that Reuters, aka Reuters, is the official fact checker at the time for Twitter 1.0. Did you know that?
No, I don't think anybody knew that. That's interesting.
The CEO of Reuters is on the board of Pfizer. Okay, Mr. Smith. And it was the number 2 lawyer at Twitter 1.0, James Baker, that was the former general counsel of the FBI, that was the one authorizing the illegal spying operation on the Trump campaign and to target General Flynn. George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, right? So I got these individuals by name, date, place, transgression category with timeline and all the relationships, okay? So if I'm the guy that knows this stuff in that level of detail, like, what do you consider me if you're one of them?
Great question.
What do you think? Am I a problem for them?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're setting up a case to make you look like some kind of a domestic terrorist or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because I refuse to comply with the 2020 illegal election heist. I refuse to bend a knee on the whole COVID con. I refuse to bend the knee on the January 6th insurrection narrative. And instead, they weaponized me against them to prove those 3 things that they're trying to push down our throats and censor us into. I rejected that, and I only escalated in response. So then they come out with this hit piece. The military intelligence veterans who helped lead Trump's campaign of disinformation. All right. And so I explained the path for it. And then they go into this massive article, which is kind of, they're trying to show that, oh, General Flynn continues to be bad. Right. And then all the people associated or affiliated with him that they can loosely try to associate with him. So you got Captain Seth Keshel. You got Phil Waldron. You got Giuliani in this article. It's massive, right? You got Sidney Powell. You got me on, Pete Santilli's show. You got me at an election integrity summit and some other things because they're trying to investigate. They're trying to investigate on behalf of the deep state handlers.
Right. They're steering a narrative.
They don't have sufficient predicate to investigate me. So they deploy the following scum to come after me that I don't respond to because they're scum. Well, let's take a look at the scum's names. Adam Roston, or Aram Roston right here. Brad Heath, John Schiffman, Peter Eisler. Okay? These are the individuals that are being deployed to go ahead and try to find, the adage, you find me the man, I find you the crime. And so in their investigation, what do? Inquiry, U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Ivan Raiklin, speaking last month at what they call pro-Trump election event in New Hampshire, faces a military review after spreading voting conspiracy claims. Well, what actually happened? I'll tell you what actually happened. And it was reported properly by, let's see here, National File publication. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, here we go. Hostels Reuters report. Let's see if it's still there. There you go. Hostile Reuters profile of election integrity activist Ivan Raiklin debunked by facts.
Imagine that.
The only thing that they got right in this is that I'm a lieutenant colonel in the reserves.
Yeah, your title. Your title is about the only thing correct.
And they emailed me asking me for a comment. And they used my military rank and title when they sent the email. So they tried to catch me into responding to a question using my military title, meaning that they're expecting me to respond in my official capacity as a reservist. Knowing that, I reached out to my reserve leadership, the JAG, the security office, my commander, and the public affairs office, and said, hey, the only way that I'm going to respond to these guys for this article is if I'm ordered to do so in writing by my leadership and with blessings of the JAG, the security office, and the public affairs officer. And you have to do that by 10 a.m. tomorrow, is what I told my boss. And I'm like, I have a good relationship with him. So, and he's like laughing. And I'm like,
I was going to say, how did he feel about that?
I expect you to laugh about it, sir, because I just want to let you know that these guys are trying to come after me with a hit piece. And it's my response to say, like, obviously you're not going to do that. And I don't expect you to do that. But I want you to know that that is the only circumstances upon which I will respond to them, to give them confidence that I'm not going to engage with this BS platform known as Reutard's. Okay.
Are you able to speculate who could be behind deploying these people to write this article?
Great question. I do. Keep in mind, where is Reutard's based out of? Okay. It's a British outfit out in London. So if you're the Central Intelligence Agency and you're a John Brennan lackey and you want to quasi follow the law and not go after an American citizen because the laws limit you from doing so, what is the best way to do it?
Outsource it.
You go ahead and sit down with your liaison partner via the London station of the CIA, with your liaison with MI6 and their relationships with their Reutards, to ask, hey, can you take a look at General Flynn, our political opponent, and anybody that we can ensnare into making him look like, continue to discredit him, and anybody in his vicinity, whether it's true or not, that we can link publicly to show that they're bad, and in order to kind of expose them to a point to discredit them so that people don't follow their work. So I would suspect that John Brennan's fingerprints are all over this, along with Gina Haspel, who used to be the chief of station in London, who was behind the whole George Papadopoulos honey trap op to spy on him, who later became the CIA director.
Whatever happened to her? That name, I mean, I haven't heard that name in a minute, and I haven't seen her around much. What's happened to her?
Well, she's probably conducting meetings with John Brennan and the incoming governor of Virginia, Abby Spanberger, who was also CIA previously, to figure out how they're going to continue escalating lawfare and political attempted assassinations and assassinations of members of this administration so that they survive. That's probably what she's busy doing in Northern Virginia, probably within a few miles of where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
Why?
Allegedly.
One, because they can, and two, because this administration has failed to do a single arrest over the last year. So good luck.
Which leads me to the next, and thank you for sharing this.
The governor's swearing in 2.5 weeks. So if nothing happens in the next 2.5 weeks, good luck, administration. Good luck, Republicans, who just basically allowed and enabled this to occur. So let's keep going down. And again, this was done. The three main categories of censorship were COVID-Con and the products there too, the illegal 2020 election, and the January 6th Fedsurrection. So it is in Reutard's best interest, aka the CEO who sat on the board of Pfizer, to censor anybody discrediting the quote safe and effective products that they were making money hand over fist over. And they were able to usher that in, the forced coerced emergency use authorized products, through an illegitimate, unlawful election. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so in this article, in the response, It says Thomas Reuters, a news outlet with links to the Central Intelligence Agency, recently ran a profile on constitutional attorney Ivan Raiklin that incorrectly raised the possibility of former Army Green Beret using his current military status as an Army Reserve officer to promote his election integrity efforts. So I wasn't on duty. I was not representing myself in my military capacity. It was not a political partisan event. It was an election integrity seminar. So on all fronts, when it says here, I was being investigated, here's the byline, Army Reserve speaking faces a military review. You know how long that review took? My command JAG watched the video of my speech, which I posted online. It was about 40 minutes. And then the military review was complete. Because what was the analysis that was done? They wanted to see if I violated political rules, Hatch Act on military reserve officers. And because I wasn't on duty that day that I gave the speech, it didn't meet that requirement. I didn't introduce myself as a military officer. I was in civilian attire. And I even conducted myself pretty professionally. And in fact, after spreading voting conspiracy claims, notice they didn't say conspiracy theory. I was presenting conspiracy facts that are now being distributed out to the broader public. You're starting to see Tulsi Gabbard's releases, etc. I mean, it's lonely being first, bro.
And that's something for the viewers to understand. There is a different between active duty military and reservist duty.
Yes.
There is separation there. Like if you're active duty, you're absolutely not able to, and from my understanding, get this involved in this kind of a situation. But as
so even yes, the rule is different for active versus reserves, but I even met the threshold of an active duty military officer because I was at an election integrity seminar, okay, in my personal capacity. So imagine if I was active duty and I went to an election integrity seminar. That doesn't mean that I'm supporting a political candidate or party or going against one. I'm just gathering information. I'm presenting constitutional principles of how certain individuals throughout our government had violated the constitutional provisions that we have. That's a nonpartisan thing. Right. It doesn't violate the Hatch Act. Also, right. I didn't present myself in my official capacity. And number two, the next component is I presented it professionally. So
wow.
you couldn't get me for anything. And it was off duty, right? But what they did was to try to bait me in is to respond to this email, and I didn't do it.
Smart move.
Okay?
That's
they're
good.
Trying to entrap me.
Yeah. These
So
people, I mean, they kind of masquerade. Well, they masquerade as like journalists, and they masquerade as publishers and journalists, for example. But do these people have ties to any intelligence agencies? Like, were they trained in some level of being able to do this to take out political operatives, whether it's domestic or foreign?
Well, you're watching it. I'm showing you.
Yeah, in real time.
They're trying to do it. And so what happens after this article? I tell my leadership as a contractor in the reserves, I was like, hey, they're doing a hit piece on me, by the way, here, just FYI. I just want to let you know about it. And here's the hit piece. So my reserve unit says, yep, we already investigated, no problem. You didn't violate a single thing. As a contractor, one of the government officials who's a total radical leftist thinks, oh, I can now fire Ivan for this article that I didn't even provide a comment for, that they just decided for themselves. And so we're going to try to fire Ivan for his First Amendment lawful activity off duty. Okay. So I was temporarily stopped from teaching and quote unquote suspended. And then I said, oh, interesting. What's your justification? And they immediately, within 24 hours, when I asked for general counsel justification, they backwalked it. But, bad taste in their mouth. And this is about the same, within the same time frame, a few months later anyway, that the vaccine mandates were being implemented across the Department of Defense, of which I said, you know what? I'm not even going to reply to whether or not I'm vaccinated or not, because the form that you're telling me I need to fill out is an optional form, and I opt to not respond respectfully. until you can provide lawful in writing predicate or requirement that I answer the form. And then I'll make a determination on what my next steps will be. So I didn't refuse a single thing other than, hey, please provide me your lawful authority to compel me into answering your "are you vaccinated or not" form, and then I'll decide what my next steps are. They didn't like that I flexed back in a stronger position than them.
Well,
So
you,
they
you you know how
investigated.
to you know how to stand on your legal rights, and that's something that people forget, that we have constitutional rights for a reason. It's great that you have that background in law, so you know how to flex on these people.
Yeah, exactly. So that covers some of my DOD investigations, and they investigated me, and guess what? The guy that one of the people that investigated me in the agency was the nephew of the same guy that investigated Bill Priestap.
You can't make
You
this
know who
stuff
Bill
up.
Priestap is? He was the guy
No.
that was in the notes that Sidney Powell later finds out was the guy that wrote, "Are we going after Flynn to get him fired or to get him to lie?" The
Oh,
former assistant director at the FBI for counterintelligence.
I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that.
So they
Yeah.
deploy his nephew as one of the crew to investigate if I had conducted anything of impropriety. Like they scrutinized every word that I used when I taught to see if
Wow.
they could find something. And then they deployed students into my program to keep an eye on me from the CDC, students from the FBI, students from DHS, students from counterintelligence elements of the Department of Defense. As I said, how interesting. How interesting you're in my class. People of your caliber have never been in my class before. I wonder what that's all about. As I looked at them and said, interesting. You know
Hmm.
just as well as I do why you're here, but I won't tell you unless you want to share.
Well, dude, you're over the target, so of course they're going to deploy
I'm
all of,
undefeated, bro. And I love being undefeated.
man, and just keep doing what you're doing, dude. And I'm telling you, like, you cover the blind spots and you remind us why we are voting for freedom, why we want a president that's going to work for us, and all the things that they have put this country through, we the people through. I mean, literally weaponizing the DOJ and FBI against its own citizens of the country. And this is something that I feel God's using you as a way to remind us why we are in this fight, and like a Paul Revere, And so,
Yeah. So
and
if I
so
may, I know this is a long monologue, but I think you said you got time, so
I do.
I wanted for the first time actually lay this out in a way that I haven't on any other podcast over these last 5 years. So I just laid out that was the opening salvo. So they put me on the Quiet Skies program. They started to do the Fourth Amendment gang rape. I posted it on Telegram. I don't know. Did you see some of that early on?
I didn't.
2021. So yeah, I posted every interaction that I could where they said, you know what, your TSA pre-check and clear, it doesn't matter. The Biden criminal syndicate put you on the Quiet Skies program, the one that they put Tulsi on later. They put me on that for almost 2 years.
So you could go anywhere for 2 years?
No, I could travel, but they would run me through an absolute Fourth Amendment gang rape.
Wow.
Right?
It's not gay if it's TSA.
Right. Exactly. So they think. So anyway, every time I would have an interaction, I needed to do a compilation. I needed a documentary movie, matter of fact, of all the weaponization and how I came out of it undefeated. But I would talk to the TSA agent and say, hey, before you start your Fourth Amendment gang rape of me, I'd like you to read the first sentence of the Fourth Amendment so that you publicly, and I want you to say it out loud on camera, so that you acknowledge that you are intentionally, with malice aforethought, going to violate my Fourth Amendment. And they're like, I can't do that. I'm like, well, then I guess we're not going to go through this procedure. I don't know what to tell you. And so they would read it out loud. I would completely embarrass them and shame them into it and said, okay, now that you have read that, you are knowingly going to violate my Fourth Amendment. So you're going to be taking on potential legal risk as part of that. And they would get mad. It's like, hey, I'm not the one doing this. You're the one doing it. And they
Guilty
said, well,
people tend to act that
you
way.
don't have to travel then. Actually, no, I do have to travel because I'm trying to conduct my First Amendment activity in Phoenix, in Madison, Wisconsin, in Concord, New Hampshire, and you name the state of these contested states where I'm traveling by plane to get there in time to explain to the state legislature, the speakers of the House, and the presidents of their state Senate that they're obligated to recall their electors to delegitimize the illegitimate Biden criminal syndicate that's in the White House squatting. And they didn't like that. And they would say, they would kind of get scared and angry at the same time. Like, hey, man, you don't need to be scared and you don't need to be angry. You can look me up and you'll quickly realize this is a political move of why I'm on this list. But you're still participating as a good little Nazi and violating my Fourth Amendment. And I would use this language in a very calm way, right?
Awesome.
I remember one time at Dulles Airport, I was trying to fly to Phoenix to speak with Karen Fann and her attorneys. She was the president of the Senate down there at the time. And the TSA agent was just trembling because it was the first time he's seen somebody with a quad S, right? The secondary screening thing on the boarding pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, first thing I'd like you to do is go ahead and swab and look at my phone. And then also next, look at my hand. Okay. Once you do that, I'm going to take my phone. Now that's, you've looked at it and you've assessed it as not being a threat. And I'm going to record myself. And they said, no, you can't do that. You can't, you don't have my permission. I'm like, well, I'm recording myself. Okay. And you've already cleared my phone and my hand. So you can continue to do the Fourth Amendment rape. And he got mad. Like he brought in his higher ups and they said, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to arrest you because you can't record. And I said, well, give me a reason why I can't record. I'm recording myself, not you. And we're in Virginia. It's a single party record state. And so you really even don't have any standing to block me from recording you either. And I'm meeting the guidelines and threshold of what you're trying to have me do to mitigate the quote unquote alleged threat that I am. I'm allowing you to violate my Fourth Amendment, but I'm telling you what sequence to do it in. Okay.
Calling their bluffs. I love it. I love it.
And they got all like, they try to flex on me. Well, you're going to miss your flight. And I'm like, well, that's on you. I mean, that's the problem. Right. You're at fault for that, not me.
Right.
And so they said, well, we're going to have to call the state, the transit authority, which is a state of Virginia airport law enforcement entity that falls under the state of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And as soon as the gentleman came up, I was like, hey, I'm not trying to cause any problems here, but these feds from the TSA want to conduct Fourth Amendment gang rape and violate my rights. I see that they don't have body cameras on that I'll be able to FOIA. And so for that reason, I want to record this interaction. I see now you gentlemen have been involved, and I would actually like cordially, respectfully ask you that as you observe the Fourth Amendment violations of me, I see that you have your body cameras on. Can I ask you to make sure that they're on so that I can do a Freedom of Information Act request of this interaction if they're going to compel me into not recording the actual Fourth Amendment gang rape? That's all I ask for.
Right. Keeping the playing field fair.
I just want to make sure that there's transparency in this process.
Right.
And right now, as they're trying to dictate, I have no leg to stand on. It's going to be their word against mine. And I want to have documented video evidence of it. And I said, now that you're here, that's all I ask for. And they said, hey, we have it on all the time. Yep, it's on. Okay. We can continue now. Hey, TSA guys, I authorize you to go ahead and violate my Fourth Amendment, if you will. Continue to go ahead and break the law. And when you present it that way, they think that they're in this position of strength. Meanwhile, I'm just psychologically gang raping him back, right? And as an individual. And so the TSA agent.
Well done, sir. Well done.
At this time, he's just shaking.
Yeah. Well, because people don't challenge them to this level. People don't know their rights, so they don't challenge them to at least call things out. And that's brilliant.
And then I told him, because he was so scared, I said, sir, I see you're distraught. You're scared. You're in fear. Here's what I'm going to do to help calm you down. I'm going to put my hands behind my back, kind of fold them as though they're shackled. And I'm also going to cross my legs standing on one leg. Okay. I'm going to take the most physically meek position so that you're able to continue to do your job of searching unlawfully, violating the Fourth Amendment, my items and effects. Okay. Please do that in a calm way because I don't want you to make a mistake. I don't want you to do anything drastic that will harm you. Okay. And as I passively stand here, I'll go ahead and just observe you. So please go ahead and violate my Fourth Amendment. He's shaking even more.
Yeah, they hated that. Good job, man. Man, the things that people have gone through, like especially you, Ivan. I mean, you've been through a lot, and I love watching your loyalty to our country and to the Constitution, to General Flynn. You've been very supportive of him, and it's great to see people standing in the way between these evil entities and decent, human, honest, fair Americans and human beings. So I really need to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. One other vignette, since we're going on the rabbit hole of the TSA, what they did to me. I remember one interaction where the guy was with a mask, and I said, "Hey, I'll let you violate my Fourth Amendment, but you need to show me your vaccine passport, and you have to have a jab from today. It needs to be current, and you need to be double masked, and I need to see when you last did the PCR test, and it needs to be from the last hour. I'll wait."
Wow. Wow.
And they're like,
you're doing the lazy Susan method of like whipping it back on them because
meanwhile, I'm standing there without a mask. I'm standing there without a mask. This was when they lifted it, and they are still with masks on, and I'm just totally shaming them into
just breathing that free oxygen.
Our policy doesn't require that. I'm like, well, you were going down that path, so now I'm going to enforce it on you, little buddy.
Yeah,
I need a PCR test within the last hour. I need your vaccine passport that you're current with the current jab status, whatever you guys decide it is. And then you're going to need to be double masked. I'll wait. So I'm not refusing, right? I'll wait for you to follow your own rules.
No, yeah, you're operating within the law.
Once I got him to bend and submit to putting a second mask on, I was just like, I'll just take that one as a win.
You're just having too much fun.
Inside, I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy is so ridiculous.
He's going to start bouncing on one leg for you, too. That's great. Wow. Well, I mean, look, dude, you have the track record of being able to figure out their playbook, right? And at this moment, it's now fast forward to 2025.
Yeah. And I even had those lollipops when I flew.
Yeah.
When they had to require the masks.
Yeah.
You know those massive carnival-sized lollipops?
Yes.
I would bring out one on, and they would come up, the flight attendant would come up to me and say, "Hey, sir, you have to put your mask on, because of the COVID rules, etc." And I said, "Absolutely. I will immediately put my mask back on as soon as I'm done actively eating this lollipop."
It's like bringing on an everlasting gobstopper that'll never stop.
And then I would do this.
Oh.
And then they would say, "Well, sir, you're not actively eating." Well, I need time to digest and masticate while I'm licking
this lollipop.
It's like a 6 or 8 hour lollipop.
Oh,
it outlasts any of the flights that I was on.
Oh man, the stupid rules, man. The stupid
and I would
rules.
Again, I wouldn't refuse. I would say, absolutely. You know what? I'll put 2 masks on as soon as I'm done actively eating this lollipop.
And a face shield. Well, that's great. I mean, that's really where we're at, right? Because it's boiling down to this is a spiritual battle between good and evil. And what evil entities do is they take anything that's good and they flip it, or they mirror it, or they spin it. And really, you have to fight fire with these folks.
So the reason I went down that rabbit hole is to make the point that I was probably the most vociferous, aggressive rejecter of everything that they were censoring. And I was manifesting it physically, right? And escalating back against them more so, I think, than almost anybody, if not like anybody. And so what did they do in response to that? You find me the man, I find you the crime, because I'm exposing their nonsense. So then all these investigations lead to the January 6th committee also investigated me, meaning Benny Thompson, meaning Adam Schiff from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, meaning the House Oversight Committee led by Jamie Raskin, right, at the time when he was chairman. So Raskin, Schiff, what's his name? Benny Thompson, and Pelosi's crew, the J6 cover-up committee. They were also all investigating me for my exposing the January 6th Fedsurrection, and even before then, coming up with the play to block the illegal certification on January 6th through parliamentary maneuver. So they wanted to find something on me, particularly with that tweet that Trump retweeted. So I talked about DOD, DOJ, DHS, and now we're going into the legislative investigations of me. And then once they were not able to find anything on me after they mentioned my name during the third hearing, and I just went and escalated publicly on Twitter and social media. Well, at that time I was censored, but it was on Telegram primarily. Then they handed off the investigative package over to the DOJ when they lost the House and the Republicans took over to Jack Smith. But before then, the DOJ subpoenaed me, my Apple, my Facebook, my all my stuff, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, PayPal, you name it. And then Jack Smith rolls around, and this is where I bring in the next screen share. Voila. See that?
Let's see here. Okay, I can see it now.
You see what it says right there?
It says Jack Smith, the U.S. Department of Justice.
Special Counsel, February 10th of 2023. It's a subpoena. So he did, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee on the Senate side, Chuck Grassley, released 197 of Jack Smith's subpoenas. I'm in 4 of them. Now, how does that look? Oh, on February 10th of 2023, which is right when Kevin McCarthy took over, right? Barely, for temporarily anyway.
Speaker of the House.
Jack Smith sends a subpoena over to Save America Joint Fundraising Committee. Although you are not required to do so, you are requested not to disclose the existence of the subpoena or the fact of your compliance. So if you're sending it to this, guess who runs this Save America Joint Fundraising Committee?
Is it the same J6 cover-up people?
No, this organization is run by Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita.
Ah, see, her name was going to come up today. I knew it. I had it written down because I wanted to ask you about her.
Yeah, this is by Jack Smith and Maria Vento, who signed off on it. And guess who signed off on it? The clerk of the U.S. District Court for the Federal District of Columbia, Angela Caesar. And then the 2 special agents, what were they looking for? All documents, communications, electronics stored, blah, 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 as it relates to the following individuals for the period August 1st to the present. All documents to, from, CCBCC, referring to, or referencing, or relating to one or more of the following entities and or individuals. Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, First Amendment Praetorian. And then look at all these people. They're in orange, if you will. They're the Oath Keepers. Just private citizen Ivan Raiklin.
Right.
And guess who looked at me? Please direct any questions to the following 2 FBI special agents, Jeremy Desor and Walter Jardina. Walter Jardina happened to be the FBI agents, one of them, that assaulted Harrison Floyd, one of the people weaponized in the Georgia electoral heist. Remember?
Yes, I do remember that.
He was Black Voices for Trump. I just did a 2.5-hour interview with him that I just posted yesterday, the day before, that you can take a look at, where we go into detail connecting the J6 committee to Jackass Smith to this particular FBI agent. Oh, wow. The dots keep connecting. That was one subpoena. The second subpoena by Jackass Smith was to Save America. Who runs Save America? Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita.
Wow, that name keeps coming up.
The third person, and you know what? It was, again, they're determining whether or not they talked to me or referenced me. And then Make America Great Again PAC. Who runs that PAC?
Susie Wiles?
Chris LaCivita. And Susie Wiles' name always comes up, right? And then the fourth, again, they're looking at me, Ivan Raiklin. And the last one, Trump Make America Great Again Committee. Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. Now, let's take a look at something here that I truly want to share that I haven't shared yet. Let's go to my X account. Now, take it with a grain of salt, because I believe this is a libtard organization. It's an article about Miss Wiles. Susie Wiles. You know who Susie Wiles is, right?
Yeah, she's chief of staff, isn't she?
Yes.
She
the runs the White House.
Right.
On behalf of Miriam Adelson.
Right. Which is another name I was going to ask you about. You have some amazing ESP skills, sir, because I was going to bring up both of these women's names in addition to Todd Blanche, but we'll get to him.
Yes, absolutely. Very good questions and good names to reference. So when we go and take a look at the first thing I want to
I still see that list of names. I don't see the new screen yet.
I haven't shared that yet. I'm just trying to find. Yeah, one of Trump's top campaign aides identified as key figure in classified docs indictment. I don't want to use that. Well, anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here is if you're running those organizations, if we go back here, who do you think would have received the subpoena? The person that runs the organization, right? Oh, here we go. I found it. Yay. All right, let's take a look at this. See that right there? Is Susie Wiles the PAC representative in the indictment against Trump? Hasn't yet been verified, and no one from the special counsel's office has commented. But on Tuesday evening reported that according to their sources, Florida political operative and longtime Trump senior advisor Susie Wiles is the person identified as PAC representative. So that's not, nefarious or anything. But what I would like to know is, remember, these subpoenas have this in them. Although you are not required to do so, you are requested not to disclose the existence of the subpoena or the fact of your compliance. Would it be nice for the deep state marauder to know that he's one of the targets indirectly of a subpoena?
Yeah. You're listed.
Guess what I would have done? I would have immediately, without obstructing justice, without getting in the way of the illegal investigation of me, I would have taken a look at the subpoena and thought to myself, I'm going to investigate Jeremy Desor, special agent, until I find a crime that he's committed, or his family, or his neighbors, or anybody that he interacts with, and publicly put it on blast. Same thing I would have done to Walter Jardina. Same thing I would have done to, for example, the clerk of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Again, just exercising my First Amendment, exposing anything that needs to be exposed, as well as anything that needs to be exposed by Maria K. Vento. And then I would have prioritized investigating Jack Smith myself. Two can play the game. But unfortunately, the PAC representative for Save America and the other three organizations, aka this lady right here, Susie Wiles, did not make that public. Which begs the question, Susie, why did you do that? And why did you then later feign outrage? Or others did anyway. Oh my gosh, there were subpoenas against the Trump campaign. You knew about it. You got it. How come you didn't put it out publicly like Mike Lindell did when he got his subpoena? He immediately went live and shared it for the whole world.
He was transparent about his. Absolutely.
So what do you think? What are the
what
do you think her reasons are?
Well, seems like she's trying to hide something.
Yeah, I'm all about full transparency.
Yeah. What's her background? What's her background? Because she's before working with the Trump administration, she had worked as a lobbyist, right? And also worked within the NFL. I wonder I mean, it's interesting to see some of these people's backgrounds.
I think the key thing is that the way I assess it is that Miriam Adelson's $250 million bribe, or excuse me, campaign donation to the President Trump campaign comes with strings attached to it. One of those strings is Susie Wiles has to be the controlling arm of the person that she donated $250 million to. Okay. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
And $250 million, last I checked, is not really an access donation. It's more of a control donation.
Mm-hmm.
You do as I say. And last time I checked, Miriam Adelson does quite a bit to donate to not only Republicans in America, but also to the Likud party and the leader of the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's
So then
right.
when you start to dig and peel the onion a little bit, it starts to appear more and more, allegedly, that Miriam Adelson controls the Republican political apparatus in America and Mr. Netanyahu through the following individuals. The Republicans are controlled by Chris LaCivita, and if they get out of line, they don't get the remainder of the $600 million total that has been donated by her to Republicans, and they are instead primaried like Thomas Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Rand Paul. Okay? That's the
Ivan, is that why they? I mean, Trump is always blasting Massey any chance he gets on his True Social or X.
Is he doing it, or is Miriam Adelson telling the signature block, "Thank you for your attention, Susie Wiles," to do so?
Well, that's great. That's a great question. That's kind of like Trump's the bullhorn, right? And they get a chance to tell the bullhorn basically who to go after online and these operations. So that's really
That's how I assess it, with a high degree of confidence, that I would suspect that anybody that is not supporting Miriam Adelson's policies are going to face the wrath of the bullhorn that she controls through the $250 million, because she needs an ROI, right? A return on investment for that $250 million. So what is that return on investment? You're seeing it play out.
Yeah.
More and more people are starting to see it at a lower IQ level by labeling it something as a broad brush stroke of, that they then defend with, you're calling us names, you're bad. And then Mark Levin gets into the mix and Ben Shapiro gets into the mix. Meanwhile, last time I checked, Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin were advocating for the Reuters CEO, board member of Pfizer, CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, whom I suspect Miriam Adelson told Susie to bring into the White House twice now to pat him on the back and do more big pharma shilling and mutilation of the American population. So Susie Wiles uses Miriam Adelson sends money to Chris LaCivita's PACs so that he can keep Republicans in check, so that they are as loyal as Miriam is, according to Donald Trump's own words, of being more loyal to Israel than to America. You saw that video, right?
Yeah, I did during the Hanukkah get
last
together.
week. And so she uses him for that. She uses Susie, again, this is my assessment, to control and make sure that the White House policies are in line with Miriam Adelson's. That's the ROI for the $250 million, right? That's why the foreign actions that we see that are totally inconsistent with what we voted for, in 2024. And then also, who's the one behind doing the liaising, if you will, between the White House and the head of the Likud party out there in the Middle East?
Who would that
A guy
be?
by the name of Jared Kushner. So at the top you have Miriam, and then underneath her are kind of three main subordinates: Jared, liaison between East and West. White House is controlled via Susie, and then the Republican political brand is controlled by the Chris LaCivita. And then underneath that, underneath Susie, is her surrogate or subordinate, and that's Donald Trump. And that's why Donald calls her President Wiles.
Wow.
And the most powerful woman in the world.
Wow. Wow.
That's the way I see it. And if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, I'd be happy to entertain any rebuttal by any of those that I just mentioned. Chris, Donald, Sue, or Jared, or Miriam for that matter.
Yeah. And now how does the DOJ play into this with, I mean, we're not, everyone in MAGA,
Yeah, so then underneath
everybody's
another
pissed.
subordinate to Susie, she brought in Pam Bondi, right?
Right.
Because remember that Susie used to work also in Florida politics as, you can look her up, use any AI agent at Ballard Partners. And Pam Bondi, guess what? One of her clients in Florida was Pfizer.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah.
So when Ivan Raiklin continues to expose the political class establishment, regardless of, back then it was the Biden criminal syndicate. Now it's the big pharma continuation. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I could care less what political affiliation they claim to be. Corruption's corruption.
Right.
And I don't need anybody's permission to expose those that whether it's somebody that I voted for or, campaigned for. I mean, I'm trying to improve our position.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, Donald Trump's a better president than if we would have had a Kamala Harris. So that's not even an argument, right?
100%.
But I'm trying to improve from where we currently are. And in order to do so, you have to wake up those that, the 79 million, the 80 million of us that voted for this administration to demand better and more.
Ivan, if you don't mind unsharing screen, I want to bring back.
Does that all make sense? And does it
100%?
Does it all make sense why the 180-degree policy changes? So
yes,
he's stuck
everything
in this position
changed.
of, yeah.
I'm sorry, everything changed. And you said it on another interview. As of September 10th, the whole tempo and the whole cadence of this administration shifted. It shifted September 10th.
So you have two camps. You have the donor class that wants their return on investment for what they donated for the White House, right?
Right.
Their control and influence over the White House. And then you have the 79 million of us that voted for this White House and the House and the Senate. But the thing is, we have to make it so that our voice is as impactful, influential as those of the donor class. And when you start to peel the onion of who is the donor class by individual, it really consists of two key drivers, Miriam Adelson and Elon Musk, right? So in January, the only time in the last basically decade plus that Miriam Adelson and the Adelson name was challenged as the number one donation big donor was last year when Elon Musk jumped in and dropped 100 million. Okay. So if you're Adelson and you're used to essentially controlling the Republican Party through your donations and through your blackmail ring that you're the, what is it called?
Well, it's like a Mossad super agent tactic.
I'm trying to think of the exact word where you're what's the person that controls entry into, somebody that controls entry into like a museum. The curator.
Oh,
right?
Curator. Yeah.
So if you consider Miriam Adelson as not only the biggest donor, but also the curator and owner of the Epstein op, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have those two mechanisms to control those that you donate to, because you're also running whoever was ensnared in that op. Now, it's not all the Republicans, but it's a clear majority, I think, that were somehow ensnared either through the financial donations or by extension involvement in that blackmail ring, right?
Mm-hmm. Now,
so if it's a Mossad op and Bibi Netanyahu is the leader of the country that runs the Mossad, and Miriam Adelson runs Bibi Netanyahu, then I consider her as the curator, right? As the key holder for the keys to the
Interesting.
op.
Interesting, like the
And so if that's the
crossover.
case,
hmm
then of course you're going to be like, hey, Donald, you can't.
You're not playing,
you
not
can't,
playing ball,
you can't
buddy.
release the Epstein files. Do whatever you can, and we'll back you up in it. We'll go after Thomas Massey, and we'll primary him. We'll fund him as a primary opponent, because we can't have this blackmail released, because then we don't have as much leverage over.
Is that
key
what also
leaders
happened
throughout the
with Marjorie
That's
Taylor?
my guess.
Is that also what was happening with Marjorie Taylor Greene and why she resigned?
That's my assessment.
Yeah. And then Dan Bongino, he resigned as well. Is it because his hands are tied on the DOJ side and I mean, that's probably another conversation, but
That's a separate,
I'm just seeing
distinct
good
conversation.
patriots are removing themselves from the chessboard.
As they learn more and more about the details of who's behind all this, right?
Right. It's interesting the crossover
That's
too.
one argument.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
But
Bibi
again,
Netanyahu.
that's how I see it. And if I'm wrong, I want somebody to refute with evidence. Because the only way that I've seen people refute this level of specificity, so I'm probably the only guy going into this level of specificity by name and the relationships and why I think those relationships are important, the funding, etc., and the timeline analysis behind it. So it's pretty compelling, I think. People that want to debunk me, they don't want to engage at all because I bring way more receipts. But the people that know this at a lower IQ level, that don't know the nerdism and put forth this amount of time that I have into it, they just say, oh, they'll bring the machine gun. Did you see my Hodge twins interview?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I did.
They'll bring the low IQ, like, oh, all Jews are bad, or like all Muslims are bad, and all Christians are bad, and right? Well, I mean, I think everybody would agree that that's not the case.
No, that's their gaslighting method. Yeah.
Right. And so while you do the ad hominem attacks, okay, great, call me whatever. Anti everything. I'm anti everything. Okay. Well, I'll just agree with you. I'm anti everything. And so now that we got past that, you still haven't answered the question, which is Miriam Adelson, according to Donald Trump, donated to him $250 million. She controls him through Susie Wiles because, according to Donald Trump's own words, Susie Wiles is the most powerful woman in the world. And according to Donald Trump in Israel, when he gave a speech, he said that Miriam Adelson is more loyal to Israel than to America. So then there's no connecting the dots. I'm using his own words.
They're telling us.
Describe what's going on. And that's where you see the rift between whatever you want to call it, MAGA, America First. It's in your face, right? And it's kind of was forced. I may have had a role in that, to force the sunlight on it to expose, hey, it's a competition between vying for policy by these big donors versus us. And there's a massive conflict. And so here's the timeline. January 20th to May 31st, Elon Musk had the outsized influence to root out all corruption, to include Epstein, the foreign money laundering schemes that, guess what? I would imagine that Miriam Adelson benefits from all the donations that this White House and Republican Party sends over to Israel to then partially send back to the U.S. to fund the Republicans through Miriam Adelson's organizations, right? It just makes sense. And so Elon Musk is kind of getting his hand in the cookie jar there.
Yeah, he's starting to learn.
If you're Miriam, what do you want to do? You want to remove Elon Musk's influence.
You want to start a fight between him and Trump.
Well, that happens in May 31st perfectly, right? And then what happens a few months later? During the time June to September, if you look at Turning Point USA, not too many donations by the Adelsons into Turning Point USA for the history of that organization. Okay. But then next thing you know, in September 10th, the only guy with a voice in the White House that has relationships with other bigger donors and Elon and the base through his, his show and interactions on Twitter and all the social media platforms is a guy by the name of Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
So who benefits the most by removing Charlie Kirk off of the outside, getting him out of the White House orbit? I argue that Miriam Adelson benefits quite significantly. Now, this could be speculation or circumstantial, whatever, but that's the way I see it.
Well, it's
And again,
undeniable.
refute me.
Charlie Kirk's influence was so massive. He led a movement, and I feel that he contributed to President Trump's reelection because of what he did to Gen Z. So he was detrimental.
He's a better representation of the 79 million than Miriam Adelson is. Elon Musk is a better representation of the interests of the 79 million than Miriam Adelson. Why? Well, Charlie had an organization through the campuses. Elon Musk bought a First Amendment free speech platform that was competition to Miriam Adelson's influenced Fox News, the comms channel for the Republican Party. Okay.
Right. Which is owned by Disney and BlackRock. So for those who don't know.
So what better person? Why not flick out Elon Musk? And then after you flick out Elon Musk for better, for more market share on the attention of the White House, why not throw out Charlie Kirk? Okay. And then on October 10th, why not have the physician of the White House in a press release say, oh, Donald Trump just got his second booster, the COVID booster, same week or so as Miriam Adelson tells Susie to bring in Albert Bourla and start shilling for Pfizer. No, by the way, wasn't it that same time frame that Miriam Adelson recommended to Susie Wiles, allegedly, speculatively, for the megaphone to endorse Democrat COVID criminal Andrew Cuomo? Yes, it was.
Right.
So it's hard to not see it the way that I see it once I lay it out.
Right.
And I'll end with this on this particular note. Last time I checked, I don't think Nick Fuentes was advocating for and promoting the vaccines that slaughtered people. Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro did.
They sure did.
So did Andrew Cuomo. So did Albert Bourla. So did Bibi. So did Pam Bondi. So did Susie. And so did Donald Trump.
They all promoted it
And
during
J.D.
Operation
Vance
Warp
took it
Speed
as well.
Whether they took it or it was a placebo, they gave the presentation to the public as
No. I mean, they announced it that they took it. They took it.
They took it.
Until you can prove beyond any doubt. Remember, once you step foot in my government, you are guilty until you prove your innocence. And it doesn't matter what political stripe you are.
Well said. Yeah, your hypothesis with Elon, especially when he saw how the sausage was made, and during the fight had said on X that President Trump is in the Epstein files. I was like, whoa, that's bombshell. And he was
he was right.
0 Fs about it and put it out there. So this is the part I feel that we, the people, are going to need to prepare ourselves for, is when it gets this deep, and if we're saving Israel for last.
We exposed the final boss, I think, in this episode, Miriam.
This is the final, this is it.
She's the George Soros of the right.
And would you say Netanyahu is like the Obama, but for Israel? Like, I mean, there's some weird, like the way that they control puppet strings.
The way I see it, I think Miriam is the top final boss, and she controls two key surrogates globally, right?
Yeah.
Donald through Susie, and Bibi through Jared.
Gotcha. And these are all bloodline people, man. When people start researching bloodlines and bloodline families and stuff, it's like this rabbit hole can go on forever. But
again, I want to be wrong, right? I'm good.
I want to be wrong. I want you to be wrong, but
I'm not going after these people because I don't know them. I don't have a personal relationship with Susie or Chris or Jared or, I mean, you name the people I just listed, right?
Yeah.
Or Bibi. I've never directly or indirectly communicated with Donald Trump by design. I want to be able to be independent and call balls and strikes.
So we're not
with the intent of good faith, exposure, and improving our situation, transparency, accountability.
So let's just recap if we can for a second. This interview is going to go really long, but it's pre-New Year's for the normies that think that that tomorrow's New Year's. It's actually April 1st. You'll learn that in the future with the 13-month lunar cycles. But for those who are thinking that's going to be New Year's, Happy New Year's. This is New Year's Eve as we're recording this. But let's remind the American people once again why we voted for President Trump and why we stood with MAGA for over 8 years. And you've laid this out great, Ivan, between what they've done to General Flynn and his family, what they've done with the impeachment hoax of President Trump, weaponizing the DOJ, FBI, the COVID scam, the bioweapon release upon the planet, all of those in the pharma industrial complex being complicit, the 2020 election rigging and stolen election, crossfire hurricane, with weaponizing every aspect of government towards we the people.
Sounds like the
Hunter Biden
categories on my deep state target list you're listing off.
I'm just trying. Yeah, that's the thing is we have to bring people back to the reasons why we're okay. So let's bring it into this. This is why we're not seeing arrests, right? Because there's plenty of evidence. There's plenty of things that we've caught them doing, and nobody is being perp-walked. Nobody is being indicted, brought in front of a jury, and being convicted. And so that's why
they had an abysmal failure of going after James Homey Comey. That was dismissed. The Letitia James thing. Dismissed.
What did P. Diddy?
John Brennan is still out there
easy.
treasoning.
Right.
Probably conducting a meeting right now with Abby Spanberger as they plan with Norm Eisen and what's the other guy's name? Can't think of it right now. As they plan for the escalatory lawfare and assassinations on January 17th when they take over in Virginia.
And that's really kind of, I mean, aside
from 2.5 weeks left.
So like the arrests are the fruit that we're begging this administration to give us, right? And we're approaching the midterms. And it almost seems like, dude, I'm having flashbacks to 2019, 2020 all over again in the sense that it's almost like they're setting us up for failure because it is two wings of the same bird. Republican Democrat is just charades for us to kind of fall into that trap of bipartisanism. But it's like they're setting the stage again to then bring out the next retard, bigger retard than Joe Biden, which is going to be Gavin Newsom. And they're going to parade him out, the worst vampire I could ever think of on the planet, especially me being a native of California. I've seen the destruction firsthand, what a human being can do to a beautiful state that was once was of California. And I just see that and the bigger 30,000, 40,000 foot view looking down, it feels like they're setting the stage for the midterms to completely pendulum shift. And then now it's like we have to do a whole nother 4 years with a Gavin Newsom that they want to install. So let's talk about election integrity. I mean, there's been people out there talking about, paper ballots, watermarked ballots, us getting a hold of the election system. Doesn't seem like these people who are the puppet masters are going to allow for that to happen because then their system can't be controlled. And so what are your thoughts on that?
So the person that President Trump appointed to be the 2020 election exposure czar, Kurt Olson, is actually he's the number one draft pick. So I agree that was a fantastic appointment. Problem is that I'm not sure how much strength and weight that individual would have, considering Tulsi Gabbard is already exposed. The evidence is already there. We already have, beyond a reasonable doubt, criminality across the board on many fronts. The problem is that you have, again, it goes back to Scam Blondie, okay, and Kash Patel and John Radcliffe. They lead even if they were the best human patriots manifestation that exists on the planet, it doesn't matter if they do not fire 95% of the workforce that is working against them. If they let them remain, such as if Jocelyn Ballantyne, who I confronted yesterday outside of the DC courthouse, asking her questions about how can America trust her considering she unlawfully weaponized against General Flynn and the Proud Boys, and now she's on this pipe bomber case. How does anyone even remotely trust anything that she puts forth in her filings, considering she never did in those two cases? And yet she still works there because Pam and now Judge Janine, who's the U.S. attorney, her boss of Jocelyn Ballantyne now, they just enable her, allow her to run roughshod as they stand grandiose fashion a couple weeks ago. We found the pipe bomber. Cash and Dan and Pam and Todd Blanche is all. You were going to talk about Todd Blanche. We all see this, right? And the solution to this entire situation is simple, and it requires Elon Musk, right? Because I argue that he's sitting on more blackmail on the institutions and individuals in it than the Epstein blackmail ring, because he owns Twitter 1.0.
Yeah, he inherited the
He
evidence.
purchased it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of if he wants to use it. And financially, he can completely dominate financially over anything Miriam Adelson can bring forth, because he's about to be the world's first trillionaire. Okay. So on the financial front, he is stronger, if he wants to be, than Adelson in that influence. And also from the blackmail side of it. So I think we need to motivate him to go ahead and, as early as right now, I mean, January 3rd going in, when on January 3rd, the House Sergeant at Arms becomes the chair of the Capitol Police Board, because on January 3rd, the Senate Sergeant at Arms ceases to be the chair of the Capitol Police Board. So J.D. Vance has until the 3rd to order his Sergeant at Arms as the president of the Senate to order the release by the U.S. Capitol General Counsel all deliberative documents related to J6, the weaponization, the Fedsurrection, all the stuff related to that. But he's probably not going to do anything. I've been telling him to do that since January 20th, but nothing's happened for a year. I don't know. Maybe he'll listen this time around. I just posted a tweet that I think might go a little viral on that. No specifics. I'm sick of being the guidance counselor for those people that are not as competent, not as understanding of the inside baseball of how to fix these problems. But I'll continue to do so, basically pro bono.
I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about General Flynn and why you're not in this wrapped up in this administration, which I think is a great thing, because you guys are able to actually maneuver on the outside, calling balls and strikes, calling people out, which is going to make you way more effective than because once they get you, and you don't want to be a part of that apparatus, because I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't associate my brand, myself.
You're way more effective doing exactly what you're doing right now, and it's calling balls and strikes. And
thank you for recognizing it. And that's essentially what I'm trying to do. And a lot of people will throw General Flynn's name synonymous, my name with him. I just want to make sure everybody's very clear. I don't ever speak for General Flynn, but I also speak in a much more aggressive and less diplomatic tone than him. So I don't want people to associate some of the more spicy rhetoric, particularly, with anything coming from him.
Right.
Not directed from him. I'm my own guy. I support him. No, right? You kind of mentioned that. I support him because of what they did to him, and that is not that breach of trust or whatever you want to call it. I won't do that, but I also like to call balls and strikes in my voice, right?
Yeah, within your capacity.
I don't want it to, in any way, shape, or form, be negatively. If it's negative, some people interpret it as negative. Do not associate that with General Flynn. Does that make sense?
100%.
Because I'm not here to harm anything that he's doing. I'm trying to just do it in a way that maybe will resonate with the broader audience. Because sometimes you have to use expletives. Sometimes you have to use slang and vernacular to make that point really heard. Because at the end of the day, I'm a younger generation. It's just my different style of voice, and it is a lot of times much more aggressive.
I mean, it has to resonate with a lot of people, because I think you are what we are feeling out here as citizens, as people who are watching this play out, who have been loyal to the Constitution, loyal to the country since before 2016, but especially when the Golden Escalator happened. And to go through a pandemic, a magnitude event, both with bioweapons as well as weaponizing government. I mean, we've been through so much that you are basically our spirit animal that is getting the information out in a style that resonates with people that are pissed. And we're pissed because we were born on this land and we love America and we love what our founding fathers had passed down to us. And the fact that we have an enemy that's infiltrated our government, that's infiltrated our land, they have completely brought evil onto our shores. We have no other option but to expose them and to use the God-given rights that we've inherited to make sure that these people do not get away with the diamonds, because they're thieves and they've stolen what belongs to us. And so I really want to roll this interview
I
into
love that.
I really want to roll this interview
You just spirit animal yourself.
Dude, I'm telling you, I get passionate when I start learning about corruption, and when I start,
It's disgusting. And then the Minnesota stuff, it just never ends.
Oh, dude, and that's just the tip of the.
You know why it never ends? Because we don't have those with courage that are unblackmailable, that are ready, willing, and able to crush the enemy.
That's
right.
And
I think we're at this inflection point that I'm not sure how long this administration lasts if they continue to not act.
That's right.
Because with our free speech, I mean, I think January 6th is going to be a very telling moment next week on where we're at, because there's going to be a lot of people that have proven up over the last 5 years that are going to be in DC, and we have the ability to communicate with most of this administration. And so at what point is it going to be that last straw? Okay. When I say last straw, you look at human history, when things get so bad and so corrupt, and even those that you expected a lot out of and you voted for and you supported just failed to produce. So while Miriam Adelson is getting her ROI, the 79, this is a clippable part right here. When Miriam Adelson is getting her return on investment through her $250 million bribe investment into this White House, the 79 million of us that voted for Donald Trump have yet to get the full ROI that we demanded our first year. And so then it comes down to, what will the 79 million of us, and now even more of us that align with the 79 million that voted for him, what are we going to do to ensure that we get our return on investment? Tina Peters, she needs to be released, physically extracted, okay? There's no more negotiating. They're not going to release her through court filings and memorandums and strongly worded letters. We're in the middle of a war. You don't resolve wars with a strongly worded letter, Mr. President. You have an attorney general. You have a director of the federal marshals. You got Yasser Seralta. He has 4,000 marshals that you can immediately have him deploy to physically, lawfully, and legally, through kinetic means, get federal witness Tina Peters. And at the same time, right before you do that, you have the U.S. Attorney for the District of Colorado file criminal charges against Jenna Griswold and her co-conspirators for the election heist and election crimes in Colorado for 2020. And then you immediately extract Tina Peters and you bring her in and put her to work with Kurt Olson to expose that and the broader electoral heist in the states that ran on the same software and tools that were used in Colorado that Tina exposed. You go ahead and pardon all J6ers, to include the nonviolent Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. You go ahead and pardon DC Metro Police Department officer Shane Lamond, who knows more, probably better than anybody else in DC or anywhere, the link analysis and architecture of the recently designated terrorist organization Antifa in DC, because he used to be the head of intel at the DC Metropolitan Police Department officer from 2017 to 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And he was the head of intel on January 6th, and he can lay out DC's role in Nancy Pelosi's Fedsurrection. Those are our demands for our return on investment. And you're starting to see more and more people see that the ROI that we mandated through our vote is not coming to fruition. Instead, we see Miriam Adelson's ROI supplanting to the tune of 100% of what the mandate was. So why not you shift focus, Mr. President, from 100% supporting Miriam to going maybe to a 50-50 or at least a 10% over to our side? That's all we ask for. You can get your Nobel Peace Prize by doing everything that Miriam asks you to do, but why don't you also do what I just listed? It's simple. You'll get us back in, like, it will be indication to us that you are no longer betraying us, the 79 million of us. Because right now, total betrayal.
I mean, my question is, what do they have on you, Mr. President? Because in your heart, if you're still a good man, you would have done these things already. I mean, with the Fedsurrection.
Yeah, it would have been day one, remember?
It would have been day one.
Liberation Day. But
Right.
it was the Jocelyn Ballantines. It was the Todd Blanches. It was the Pam Bondys and the David Warringtons and the Susie Wiles and Miriam and Mike Pence and probably others in the Cheney Pence camp that said, no, don't pardon the nonviolent Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, because then we won't be able to perpetuate the insurrection narrative when we get you out of office so that we can prosecute you, Mr. President. I mean, come on.
God, just please wake us up from this bad dream where the world is being ran by a satanic pedophile cult. Please, Lord. Like, this is really getting out of hand. And, for my listeners and viewers of the show today, I just really ask that you just continue to hold the real patriots that are really leading this America First movement in your prayers as much as possible. Because as Ivan Raiklin has just said, we don't have any time left. We don't have a whole nother election cycle, and pray that we actually, take back freedom and control and implement the Constitution in the way that it was written to the country. We don't have that time. And so we really have to continue, like Ivan Raiklin is doing, call balls and strikes where they are. And that's what we're going to do on this show. I started the show in June, and like you, Ivan, I mean, I'm really inspired to just continue to call these things out and to figure out what is going on, because this administration, they have to make decisions. Heads need to roll. People need to be fired or
mass arrests
or
mass
mass
firings.
arrests. Yes, because especially if they are committing acts of treason. I mean, come on, man. Like, we have laws for a reason. And so
750 J6ers were already arrested up to this point. By December 31st of 2021. We have not gotten a single arrest. What does Cash focus in on? Oh, look at all the petty crimes that local law enforcement did and that FBI is going to take credit for. Oh, we're going to use all resources available to the Department of Justice to go after the arsonist of the Teslas that are, those are crimes that are addressed by local and county and city law enforcement.
Those are low level. No,
FBI focuses on public corruption. DOJ, same thing. Federal crimes such as treason, seditious conspiracy. You go after the highest levels. And the last thing I'll say before we finish up is that a lot of people say, "Oh, Ivan, you're radical." Yeah, I'm radical right. I want to always be radical right instead of radically wrong. Okay? And in the sense that if they're going to politically say, "Oh, we're going to lose," they're going to go after President Trump if we do what you're saying, Ivan, and they're going to call him a tyrant, and they're going to call him a Nazi, and they're going to call him a tyrant dictator. Here's my response to that. Day one, tonight, you extract Tina Peters. Then you have them yelled at. The very following day, you go ahead and snatch and grab James Comey. And then they'll yell about James Comey. The very next day, you go ahead and go after John Brennan, and they're going to complain about going after John Brennan. The very next day, you start to loop in Abby Spanberger, his protege, and her attorney general, Jay Jones. And then they're going to complain about that. And then the next day, you go after Adam Schiff, and then they're going to complain about that. And then you go after Tim Waltz for the fraud, and they're going to complain about that. And by the end of the first week, they've already forgotten about Tina Peters as she's busy working in the White House with Kurt Olson to expose the entire gamut, as we leverage Elon Musk's platform to expose to the entire world all of the corruption and fraud as we continue to escalate that. The very next day, you go after Jamie Raskin and his wife, Sarah, for being involved in the unmasking of General Flynn, one of the 39. Then you go after, you know what? Then you start to escalate. You go after all 51 spies who lied other than John Brennan that were involved in the Biden criminal syndicate scheme. Then you go ahead and start conducting terrorism enhancements on all of them. And then you continue to escalate. And then you go after Pelosi, and you start to build your case and go higher and higher. And then you just continue to escalate over the next 2.5 weeks. By then, they've already forgotten about Tina Peters, about John Brennan, about what's his name? James Comey. And then you start to go after the
What about
second.
Clapper?
Yeah, Clapper. And then you start to go after the second tier individuals as they go on defense, and they are now scared to go ahead and call anyone a name, because now they're only focused on defending themselves for the illegal and unlawful actions that they are now being held to account for. That's my recommendation, but it requires courage, and it requires a pivot from the $250 million investment made by Miriam Adelson and those that she has in place controlling this White House and the policy in it.
I'd agree. And we
I
can't.
think I made my argument.
I love your argument. And we cannot forget also, too, about these other characters like Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates and people that ran cover for their
It all
operations.
comes down to COVID, doesn't it?
It does.
Whether it's
because
Pam Bondi, whether it's Albert Bourla, whether it's Gates, whether it's Fauci, whether it's, guess who ran the COVID task force? Mike Pence and Jared Kushner.
That's right. That's right. And they told us what they were going to do, too. I mean, Event 201 was basically their practice test run.
Who ran that? Avril Haines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure good old Gina Haspel was in the mix there, too. Speaking of.
So
you got it. You've been doing your research. Respect.
Ivan,
respect.
Yeah, brother. I'm so thankful that you decided to jump on my little show. I don't have a little following yet, and it's not about following. It's about an organic awakening to reach the masses. And I'm just glad that you took the time today away from your family to be on the Ultra MK podcast, where together we are.
It's because you have courage. You have testicular fortitude. And I always say this when I do these interviews, is that if you have the courage to have me on, I have the obligation to go on your show. So you've already had me on for almost 2 hours longer than Paul Ryan and Rupert Murdoch's / Susie Wiles, Miriam Adelson's influenced Fox News.
What does that
by
tell
design?
You? We are the news, baby. We are the digital soldiers carrying each other through this great awakening. And right now we're on Israel. And right now we're on the deep state within America. And the tentacles reach far and wide, folks. It's not just in America. Every nation has a form of deep state. And we're going to keep uncovering these individuals and calling balls and strikes with retired Lieutenant Colonel Ivan Raiklin. Thank you for joining the Ultra MK podcast and helping us reverse the narrative,
I like the
sir.
name of it. Ultra MK, reverse the narrative. Fantastic name.
Yeah, God bless
Thanks,
you,
man.
man.
God bless you.
I'll be in touch with you, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
April Fools.
That's right. The real New Year is April Fools. We're going to learn so much in the future. It's going to be awesome.
All right.
We'll talk soon. Later.
That is our obligation, to inform and alert the American people, to make certain that they possess all the facts that they need and understand them as well, the perils, the prospects, the purposes of our program, and the choices that we face.